Hello, TradingView community. Welcome to my new analysis about LLY on several time frame perspectives. And in the recent times, LLY has shown up with this huge bounce to the upside, with this huge bullish development, breaking out of this major range here, of this huge range. And this was a major bounce to the upside, showing up with huge volume spikes, with huge bullish volume spikes. And it has to be mentioned that this huge bullish volume spike into the upper direction, this huge bullish volatility has shown up literally overnight for LLY. And this was a bounce over 20% literally overnight. And what this means for this price action is that not every stock within the market has such a bullish potential and is actually converting this bullish potential into real price action. And therefore, as I always advocate, it is always necessary to pick the gems within the market that have a major bullish potential into the long direction, conversely into the short direction when considering the short side perspective. Therefore, it is always necessary to pick those that have major volatility potentials. And as it is here the case with Lilly entering before this huge pump to the upside emerged, and from this base on showing up with these gains into the upper directions. And now the question is, if LLY actually has the possibility to convert this underlying fundamental perspective, this bullish technical perspective, into further gains, into the upside direction, into the further directions of a upside potentials. And therefore, the market recently has shown up with great developments as inflation is calming down, as well as the money demand flows into the market actually increase. This is a positive sign for sector stocks. Of course, not for every stock within the market. There are also bearish stocks within the market. However, for bullish stocks, this is a good potential. And for the reverse perspective, there are also bearish sector stocks. However, with LLY, this actually showed up with the real price action here. And when looking at this bull dynamic on the weekly time frame perspective, also here on the time frame perspectives, LLI, LLY actually showed up with this major uptrend to the upside, bouncing several times in this uptrend direction, in this ascending trend line here. And these were actually some important bouncings to the upside, every time bouncing within this ascending trend line. And the last bounce actually confirmed this major direction into the upper directions. And this was actually a major bounce into the upper direction here. And when looking at this bull dynamic on the more local time frames, this major bounce into the upper direction, it just perfectly hit this main ascending trend line. It perfectly touches this ascending trend line and show it up with this huge price explosion, also confirming on the high volume spikes. And now we're looking at on these bull dynamics on the local time frame perspective. LLI continued to bounce further here into the upper directions, and from here on formed further higher highs and higher lows within this bull structure, from where it is now building up above the 550 level. And this is actually a major potential formation here, building up above this level, because always when the market jumps into such a volatility spike and stays within this area to form several higher highs and lower low structures, This means that this is not a bull trap. And normally when a bull trap settles, this means that the price just bounces into these areas and from there on immediately bounces back. And from here on, this can be seen as no bull trap in this case because LLY also has this major ascending trend line here within the structure in which it bounced already several times, and now it is actually penetrating the upper boundary of this wall formation structure in which it is actually building up. And once this breakout above the upper boundary has emerged, this means that from there on this will actually continue with the next wave expansion into the upper directions. And in this case, LLY actually will show up with this huge acceleration of trend direction into the upper boundaries. And in this case, LLY will actually activate targets above the 670 area. And within the next times, this potential is very, very likely to complete within the next times with this wall formation structure and the bullish momentum actually showing up here with. Also, when looking at this wall dynamic on a more long-term perspectives, LLY is still within this main uptrend direction, and it is building actually a further wave count into the upper directions here. And this is actually a huge, 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 huge. This is a major uptrend into the upper directions. And therefore, there's a huge potential for LLY actually to continue into these directions and show up with the major wave C expansions into these upper directions. And just when projecting this target determination onto the upper boundaries, this is a huge target determination which should be considered here, as LLY already showed up with this huge local bull flag completion here. There's a huge possibility that LLY actually continues into these directions. And especially with the recent macroeconomic data established within the market, this is actually giving a fundamental positive base for the stock of LLY to continue within the next times. And therefore, I am also looking at these datas, at these economic datas within the data dashboard and combine them with the major LLY developments and what should be considered in this case. And therefore, there is also the possibility given that the Fed actually shows up with a more dovish policy, which will also confirm further bullish potentials for LLY. And therefore, this will also be a very interesting development to watch out within the next times. Currently, there is no reversal in sight for LLY in this case. The only reversal would be when a major supply pressure enters here and the Fed is going to get more hawkish as the inflation makes a turning and shows up with higher highs, and therefore the Fed becomes more hawkish and supply enters this main development for LLY. However, currently this dynamic is not the most likely possibility scenario. This is why I am considering this main ascending wedge formation to complete within the next times and to reach out for the upper target zones in the next times. And this will be a very interesting development. And just when also considering these major volume spikes here within all these developments, it has to be mentioned that these volume spikes are actually considering and underlying this main uptrend to the upside. And always when these volume spikes actually show up, this means that there's a huge underlying demand which is actually bolstering this bull dynamic into the upper directions. With this being said, it will be great when you support this project further with a like, follow, and comment. In this manner, bye bye.